What's up, Yinzers, Yinzettes? Welcome back to the Pucks and Nat podcast, where we're going to talk about everything from the past week from Penguins hockey, give you the latest downtown breakdowns. I will say this week's going to be a little bit different. Hannah is still stuck in Philadelphia without her soundboard. So we're not going to have the normal intro that we usually do this week, but I'll just give you a little preview of what's to come. So we are going to do the regular week in review. We'll talk a little bit of Rickard Rakell and why Team Sweden is brain dead, as well as the versatility of Cody Glass, trending up, trending down as always. We'll provide you a little update on Rutger McGroarty, Penguins prospect. And finally, what the F is up, Kyle? So here we go. Like I said, no intro video this week. I'm Kelsey Surmatz from the Hockey News. If you're not familiar by now, you can follow me on X at Kelsey_Surmatz4. Same thing on Threads, Blue Sky, no underscore. And just a little plug for the Pucks and Nat podcast as well. Follow Pucks and Nat on X, Pucks_Nat_pod. And then that's the same thing on Blue Sky without the underscores. So I'm joined, like I said, by our co-host Hannah, and she is very cold.
I am very cold, but I'm going to get colder. Happy Pucks and Nat. Anyway, I've been wanting to do that since I stepped out here. My hands are cold. That was a really bad decision. Anyway, hi guys. I'm Hannah Kirkell. I contribute to the Sporting News. I'm still stuck in Philadelphia. There was some bad winter storms that I didn't really want to drive on the turnpike through. So sorry about the lack of soundboard and about, again, being outside. This is becoming my favorite bit. You can find me on Twitter at HKirk6, on Threads at Kirkel6, and on Blue Sky at HKirk6. Twitter is H_Kirk6. That's my bad. Sorry, guys. Can we blame the cold? Can we blame the cold?
We'll go ahead and blame the cold for you. It's
Perfect.
Fine. Yeah. All right. Well, we want to keep Hannah out there as least as possible. We are not going to go an hour and 20 like we did last week. So,
well, I personally think views would skyrocket if I turned into Jack Nicholson from The Shining halfway through. So,
yeah,
it's a sacrifice I'm willing to make.
we might need some time for that to happen. So
I said I was committed. My mother said I should be committed. So here we are.
Yep. Gotta commit to the bit.
Yeah. That's
all right.
what I said. She's waving at me.
Hi, Hannah's mom.
Yeah. Kelsey says hi. Anyway, let's do this.
All caught on the broadcast. All right.
Oh, yeah.
Shout out to Mama Kirkell.
Shout out Mama Kirkell, who thinks I am very stupid to be sitting out here. But here we are. We can review. Let's do it.
We can review. So, basically, I had to think for a second for when we filmed last because I know it was weird.
Yeah,
was
we filmed
December
like Tuesday
30th.
afternoon. So
yeah. So that was a little bit weird, but was it New Year's Eve or was that like the day before New Year's?
It was New Year's Eve, I think.
It was one of those days. No, I think it was Monday. I think it was December 30th. It doesn't really matter. Regardless, we're back. The Penguins have played 3 games. Yeah. The Penguins have played 3 games since then, and honestly, not since then, really, have they? Oh yeah, Detroit. That's right. Oh my gosh.
Game.
Yeah. Good call. So let's start back to Detroit. So yeah. Well, first of all, it's noteworthy that the Penguins are on a 4-game losing streak, so they have not won a game since we last had a podcast, which
is correct.
It's not ideal.
We take full responsibility for that.
Yeah, it's our fault. We messed up the schedule. We were rolling, Pens were rolling, and now, we both had a little bit of a slump there, but we're about to come back in full swing. So, don't know about the Penguins though. So that loss to Detroit, it was a 4-2 loss. Honestly, pretty uninspiring effort from the Penguins, I think.
It was bad.
Yeah, start to finish. The only bright spot in that game was that Drew O'Connor snapped his 32-game goalless drought. So they're going to pull positive from that game. That's the positive. Other than that, that's pretty much all she wrote about that one.
Yeah.
So we don't really even have to spend that much time on it because it not much to talk about there.
It was a game. It happened. It was bad. Moving on to Friday.
Yes, and this kind of gets to the more interesting stuff anyways. So we were talking even just before the holiday break about how the Penguins have been pretty good in overtime and shootouts this season. They're still pretty good in overtime this year. Wow. Shootouts, another story. These last 3 games, all it's terrible. They all 3 of these past games, starting with Florida on Friday, which was a 3-2 loss in the shootout. All these games went beyond regulation. And, with Florida, once again, it was kind of back and forth affair. I thought the Penguins played fairly well in that game. They kept up with Florida. It was an entertaining game, an exciting game. They added 2 more power play goals, which, I mean, if you're talking about the story of the season, it has to be this power play.
But it needs to be said that they failed to score on a 4-minute double minor.
Correct. Worth noting, but they still do get 2 power play goals that game. One from Sidney Crosby, the other from Rickard Rakell. Shock. We'll get to that later. But, they go to the shootout.
One was scored with 40 seconds to go in regulation to tie the game and send them to overtime. So, let's just throw that in there.
Yeah, that was a big goal, and it felt like one of those games, Tkachuk gets that goal in the third period. You kind of think it might be over, and then the Pens storm back, get a late power play. They have the 6-on-4 advantage. Rakell puts it in the net. Now, I don't think I've seen him as animated as he was in that goal celebration. That was just huge goal for them. But then, as we've seen time and time again, they just drop a goose egg in the shootout. Do you have any comment on the shootout, Hannah? I know we're going to get to it a little bit more in a couple minutes.
I have a lot of comments on the shootout. First and foremost, I'm about 90% sure about the order, but let me just pull that up real quick. Yeah, here we go. So they sent out Rakell and Crosby. Rakell, yes, you absolutely should send Rakell out in the shootout. With all due respect to Sidney Crosby, the player he is, the player he has been, and the player he will continue to be, he should not be anywhere near the shootout at this point in his career. He scored a shootout goal against San Jose at home. Other than that, when was the last time he scored in the shootout?
That's a great question that I don't know the answer to, but that's his only shootout goal this season.
But it's not good. You should. I understand that he's the Penguins' best player, but this is a shootout. You should send out the best players in the shootout, and that is not Sidney Crosby, and it's also not Chris Letang. He was not sent out, but good Lord, please stop that, Coach Sullivan.
Yeah. Good.
I mean, you send out Rakell. You send out Rust, who has been historically good in the shootout. You send out not Karlsson.
Oh, I would be down to try Karlsson. I mean, why not?
The last time he was sent out in the shootout was that 13-round one that Jansen Harkins won, and he tried to slap a clapper from like 50 feet out.
I respect it.
Which is rock star and entertaining, but not the key to success.
Well, hey, I mean, you never know. They need to change things up. They're all going in slow. They're all just not making the right reads in the shootout. So if it takes, a heavy slapper from the slot or from the blue line, for all I care, I'm not against sending him out there. But yeah,
I'd say Rakell, then Rust.
Yeah.
And if they haven't already been eliminated, because they typically are. Before Eller was traded, I honestly would have said him. He's got some nice hands. Maybe Puljujarvi if he's in the lineup.
I agree.
Not Michael Bunting, who is a very clutch player, but I don't really think of him as the best hands on the team. Phil Tomasino, if he's healthy, I'd love to see that get a shot.
Why not Blake Lizotte? I mean, it's just, I guess, like, my whole thing.
You know what? Kevin Hayes. I bet Kevin Hayes, actually. Kevin Hayes.
Yeah, I'm down with that too. And
I
you
mean,
know,
surely
it's
all the rational fans out there will react appropriately, but I mean,
right.
Sid, Gino, Letang, not exactly the best shootout players at this point in their career. So, got to change something.
Yeah, and honestly, I mean, throughout his career, Sid has never really it's never really been a strong suit of his game.
Yeah.
Raquel and Rust, as you said, I mean, they've historically been really good shooters. And
Yeah.
honestly, if you look up and down this lineup, even if Raquel's struggling in shootouts, there's nobody
You still
there's
put him out
nobody
there
else
because
you
there's
you
nobody
trot out
better.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
No, absolutely.
Raquel, Rust, and I agree with you on Pugliarvi. He's just
Pugliarvi,
nasty.
Tomasino, Hayes, Lazat,
Yeah, any of those guys, but hey, nothing
Nedeljkovic.
against you,
I
Sid.
don't care.
Maybe I know. I think who was it yesterday? I think Rob Rossi was like joke because the Penguins are having trouble with goaltending and shootouts too, and he's like, "Hey, why not try the empty net? Get a 2-0." And I was like, "Yeah, make it interesting."
Why
But
not?
maybe it works. Maybe it doesn't. You hope
doesn't.
somebody misses the
Anyway.
net. But anyway, yeah. So shootouts, really weak point for the Pens, and that's something you hope these games don't keep going past regulation, especially considering a lot of their upcoming schedule is against opponents that they're around them in the standings. They're going to be playing a lot of Metro games in this back half, and just for reference, this team's 3-6-3 against the Metro this season, which we'll get to in a second with the Canes game. They're 1-2-3 in their 6 games since the holiday break. Like we said, 4-game losing streak. And, like I said, they have a really big tilt coming up this weekend against Ottawa and Tampa consecutively, who are both, kind of sandwiching them in the standings along with Columbus there, who we'll also get to in a second. But yeah, they can't give away any extra points by extending these games past regulation. So moving on to Sunday, thank goodness this team is done playing the Carolina Hurricanes for the season.
Yeah, I hate watching the Carolina Hurricanes play hockey, Kelsey. They're so boring. Here's the recipe to every single Carolina Hurricanes game in the history of the Carolina Hurricanes. Cycle. Pass from shot from the blue line. Cycle. Shot from the blue line. Cycle. Shot from the blue line. Rinse and repeat.
Yep. That's pretty much the name of it. And then they're also, I mean, if they're not...
sorry, I feel bad. I just slandered them. Sometimes they mix it up and don't shoot from the blue line. They shoot from another low danger area. Back to you.
Absolutely. And I feel like, most of their high danger opportunities are coming off the rush. If they're getting those. Otherwise, it's exactly what you said. And that's much of what we saw against the Canes on Sunday. Kevin Hayes gets his first goal back, and I'll talk about Hayes a little bit later, but Hayes has played in these past 3 games. He opens the scoring against Carolina. He's looked pretty good on that third line so far. Michael Bunting, as a shocker there, adds another goal in the first period. That one actually came 5-on-5, which has been a rarity recently because he has so many goals on the power play.
He's been killing it on man advantage.
Yeah, 8 power play goals on the season. That's already ties a career high for him. So you can figure if the Penguins' power play keeps up what it's doing, that Michael Bunting's going to blow his career high in power play goals out of the water.
Easily. And then because the Penguins like to keep things interesting, they blew their 2-goal lead. The Carolina Hurricanes went up 3-2. But along comes Erik Karlsson, who ties the game.
Yeah, and he had a heck of a game against the Canes. It was the same thing against Columbus.
Good Lord. We're going to talk about that later, but...
he's been playing some really, really good hockey, but
he has.
Just a total piss missile from Karlsson on that goal.
And actually, more impressive than his goal is his assist on that Michael Bunting 5-on-5 goal, because he completely put Jordan Martinook in a blender. I'm just saying, if I was a professional hockey player and I got embarrassed like that by another professional hockey player, even if it is future Hall of Famer Erik Karlsson, I would probably retire on the spot.
Yeah. He absolutely just
it was incredible.
That was crazy. Yeah, that assist on Bunting's goal. But Karlsson does get that early goal in the third period. Penguins do force overtime after, giving up a 2-0 lead in the first place. But it's eventually ended by Sebastian Aho, just a minute and 30 into the extra frame. So,
And that was
again,
his 600th career point. Just thought I'd throw that out there. So congrats to Sebastian Aho, 600 career points.
yeah, and he's a heck of a player. I've enjoyed watching him over the years. But yeah, we're gonna move on to Tuesday finally, which was last night's game in Columbus, and this
No, not in Columbus.
well, yeah, in Pittsburgh. My bad. That's an important thing here because
yes, it
Columbus
is.
won its first game in Pittsburgh since November of 2015. And I'll tell you what, there have been a lot of bad losses for the Penguins this season. This is up there. I mean, this was an absolutely deflating loss.
Yeah, not because of the opponent. I want to throw that out there.
Oh, yeah.
The Columbus Blue Jackets right now are a heck of a hockey team. They're playing inspired hockey night in and night out. Penguins fans, if you're bored of watching deflated team, throw on Columbus. They're entertaining this season. And of course, Steve Mears, is over there calling games. So
yes, he is. Yeah. So
if you're bored, they're fun. Anyway, I just wanted to say that's not why this loss was so deflating. This loss was so deflating because of how they played. They came out flat the whole first period. They were pathetic.
3
right?
shots on goal.
I mean,
yeah,
3 shots on goal. That's right, Kelsey. Originally they had 4, and during the intermission, I heard them say they've officially taken away one of Pittsburgh's shots on goal. They now have 3. So pathetic.
and
sorry.
just a side note too, not to cut in, but Tristan Jarry also surrendered the first shot, first goal again. And that's the
tell us
sixth
why that's
time.
significant, Kelsey.
Yeah. Well, so first of all, that's the 6th time Jarry has done that this season.
Mm-hmm.
And that's happened 8 times total for the Penguins this season. I believe the last time somebody in one season had committed so many first shot goals was Matt Murray. So Matt Murray did it once before with 6. The way that's trending, Tristan Jarry is going to break that.
Oh, he's going to shatter that.
Yeah. And actually, I do have another stat here real quick. Just give me 1 second. Shared kindly with us yesterday. So according to John Bird, who's the manager of statistics and research at the National Hockey League, the most times allowing the goal on the first shot of a game in a single season by a Penguins goaltender is 7. And that was Tom Barrasso in 1997-98.
Hey, that'd be some rare air for Jarry to breathe.
Yeah, and Murray's was in 18-19. So, that data's been available since 97-98. So obviously, I mean, there's a little bit of a limited statistic there, but
let's
get
a betting pool going. Do we think he can get to 10?
I think he can.
I think he can.
Yeah.
He sets his mind to it.
Yeah. That's just an insane stat. I don't.
Yeah.
We've talked about it so many
times.
Mind
around it. I actually can't take it seriously because of how ridiculous it is. Back to reaming out the Penguins for their lackluster performance. They started to semi pull it together about halfway through the second. Still not exactly inspired hockey, but it was better than the first period. Third period, they actually played great hockey for about 5 minutes. They went up 3-1. But of course, they blew that with 8 minutes to go, so they went to overtime. In overtime, the Penguins had a ton of great chances. Elvis Merzlikins was stellar in overtime.
Oh, yeah.
He stoned Rust with in the last couple seconds. He stoned Sidney Crosby at least once, I think twice.
Raquel too.
Raquel too.
It was almost a hattie for him.
Yeah, he was out of this world. Take a bow, Elvis. He stayed in the building.
He sure did stay in the building.
Then obviously when they got to the shootout, Tristan Jarry struggles in the shootout, and the Penguins struggle to score in the shootout. So they won. Kidding. Columbus won for, like you said, the first time since 2015.
Yeah.
And that was the week in review.
Yeah, and I do want to point out a couple positives, which kind of transitions us into this next segment here. So, couple. So, this is a stat from Bob Grove. Michael Bunting, shocker, added a second period power play goal. And that is 6 straight power plays with a goal on home ice for the Penguins, which, I mean, that is pretty crazy.
That's not insignificant right there.
No, they're scoring like crazy on the power play at home. So that's something that needs to continue. Michael Bunting, again, just needs to keep being Michael Bunting. And also during that second period, Sidney Crosby did surpass Patrice Bergeron to become the all-time leader in faceoffs won in the NHL since the stat's been tracked in 1997. So congrats to Sid. That's just another incredible achievement and an incredible career. He has a lot of career to go, so I imagine he's going to hike that number up to a very high point that's going to be pretty difficult to beat.
Oh, yeah. And just really quickly, a special teams update. Last week, they were sitting they were sitting pretty. This week, not so much. Power play, they're no longer 4th in the league. They're 5th now. That's not so bad. 26.2%. Not so bad at all. Penalty kill. They have fallen to the top 5, and they're now 14th with an 80.3% success, which is not as good as last week.
No, they've allowed us 6 power play goals in the past 6 games. So
they've been less than stellar, and it seems like they're always coming at the worst times. So
absolutely deflating, but yeah, I'll get to that in a little bit too, because I think that's going to connect my trending down a little bit. But positive. So Rickard Rakell scores 2 more goals against Columbus. That gives him 20 on the season. He's just the second Swedish player this season, the other being Adrian Kempe, to reach the 20-goal mark. And I got to ask, is Team Sweden brain dead, man? Because, listen, I mean, William Eklund has fallen off a little bit. San Jose, he was someone we talked about a few weeks ago when the rosters were being constructed.
Well, he was injured, to be fair. He hasn't played in 4 games.
He was. But anyway, so, there were a little list of snubs there, but it's crazy to me. And this is, I compiled some stats here just to give you an idea of the season Rakell is having. So he's second only to Crosby, an average game score at 1.06. Sid's is at 1.15. The next rated player is Rust at 0.67. And this is courtesy of Hockey Stat Cards, by the way. He's also second to Sid in net rating at 5.4. Sid's at 6.4. And the next is Karlsson at 3.0. He's 5th in defense rating at 0.5, and that's only behind defense first players like Noel Acciari, Blake Lizotte, Cody Glass, Matt Nieto. He's 3rd in on-ice expected goal share at 57.4%. He's 1st in Corsi, which is shot attempt share at 59%. That's ahead of Crosby. Tied for second in Fenwick at 57%. That's unblocked shot attempt share. And he is tied for first with 13 goals since November 27th, and that's only tied with Leon Draisaitl. So he has 13 goals since November 27th. That's tops in the league, like I said, with Draisaitl. And I think what's interesting too, now, obviously, we're not comparing stats to this season. Gensel is killing it on the power play in Tampa. He's killing it next to Kucherov. He's just been unbelievable this year. But in terms of last season, Rakell actually at this point, he's on a 39-goal pace. His 39-goal pace is outpacing Gensel's output from last season. Gensel scored at a 37-goal pace. He obviously missed some games, but that was his 82-game pace. So he's more than making up for that goal, production that we thought we were going to see, a huge deficit with Gensel gone. But he's kind of filling that role nicely. And, you look across the board and pretty much every advanced stat, every regular stat, he does have 20 goals, 35 points in 42 games on the season. He's right there with Sid this season in all these metrics and, pretty close in production, not quite there. But, him and Sid have far and away been the best players for the Penguins this season. And, I don't know what's going to happen with him. There's a lot of trade talk. We'll get to that a little bit later. And I would think, unless you're getting a good young player in return as part of a package, he's someone you don't just throw away for picks. He's your best tradable asset other than Crosby, which is not going to happen.
Right.
So, he's having an unbelievable season for the Penguins. This is on track to be his best season of his career. So, Team Sweden, I don't know if you were asleep at the wheel or if you're listening, you're hearing it from every corner of the Penguins universe, but why in the world is Rickard Rakell not on your roster for Four Nations? That's all I got to say about that.
It's
anything you want to add? Yeah. So I'll let you. I know you wanted. I wanted to talk about Rickard Rakell. You wanted to talk about another player.
I did.
Yeah.
So
give you
Cody
the floor.
Glass, he's been elevated into the second line center role very briefly, with Evgeny Malkin dipping out of the lineup at the last minute. It was reported upper body injury, I believe.
Yes.
I can't help but wonder if perhaps that came against the Red Wings. He took a pretty nasty shot into the net. But we don't really know anything right now. So
I do know the only update I can provide is that he did skate this morning. It looked like in a full contact capacity. I
think they said day to day.
Yeah, he's still day to day. He normally wears a black jersey as part of like the offensive unit. He was wearing a yellow jersey this morning, and he wasn't taking line rushes, so it doesn't look like he's going to be in the lineup against Edmonton on Thursday. But he could be back pretty soon.
That's fine. They won't need anyone to score goals against the Edmonton Oilers.
No, no. But as you were.
Yeah, as I was saying, so Cody Glass, who was playing on that second line, just on the wing, he slides over into that second line center spot. And Cody Glass is a really interesting player because he doesn't do a whole lot offensively, but it's not like he's a black hole or anything. Like his line totally dictates play. And I don't think that's a coincidence that with him on it, his line controls the share of shot attempts and all that. He's just such an interesting player because, like I said, he's not doing anything offensively, but he's not a black hole. I don't know. He's very fascinating to me. You can't really ever point at a glaring issue with his game because there isn't one. Honestly, if he scored a little bit more, he'd be like great because of how good he is defensively and how decent he is at providing opportunities for his teammates. It's just that he can't do much with the puck alone. Does that make sense? I feel like that makes a little bit of sense.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think, to me, it looks like a perfect example of a guy who's driving play. Like you said, he plays a mistake-free game. Like you don't see him just all out there all willy-nilly.
He would have been a perfect New York Islander.
Absolutely. He's very low event, but in the best way.
Yeah, not in a bad way. It's like nothing is happening, and I mean that positively.
Yeah. There's just not many mistakes in his game. I think, and we talked about this a little bit last week, the process is there for him. You can see the tool set, you can see the skill set, you can see why he is generating chances, why his line is, having a good share of the expected goals. It's just the finish isn't there. So,
right.
And it doesn't help too. I mean, you look at Michael Bunting's production. He now has 12 goals in the season. I mean, consider the fact that 8 of those goals have come on the power play. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not like Michael Bunting is producing out of this world 5-on-5 either. So I'm kind of curious to see where his game continues to develop in a more offensive role. He has
I just bring
still
this
time on
up
the power play too.
because him sliding into that second line center role, he's been in that elevated top 6 role recently, so it's obviously calling more attention to his game. And he's just kind of fascinating. Anyway, that's all.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I'm curious to see where that goes.
Me too.
Especially as the trade deadline approaches. He is a pending unrestricted free agent, or he's a restricted free agent. I'm sorry. So we'll see how that goes, and how everything shakes out, and if he continues to get some of those minutes. As guys come in and out of the lineup, we'll see how that shakes out. But next, I just wanted to provide a little bit of an update on Rutger McGroarty. I know it's a prospect everybody is interested in Pittsburgh and in Winnipeg.
Especially the Winnipeg Jets. Carry on.
Just everyone in Winnipeg wants to know how Rutger McGroarty is doing. Obviously, all in a good way, right?
Oh, yeah, positive.
Yeah,
totally positive supporting their guy.
But if Winnipeg fans are looking at the stat sheet just in a raw sense, they might be clamoring for joy right now when they look at Rutger McGroarty's statistics versus Braden Yeager's statistics, granted in juniors versus the AHL, which is it's completely different. But anyway, so McGroarty did have a slow start in Wilkes-Barre Scranton this season. He had just 1 goal, 3 points in his first 12 games. But in those 15 games since, he does have 4 goals and 11 points. So he's really starting to crank it up recently. He actually just had 2 goals in Wilkes-Barre's last game versus Hartford on the 4th. They do play tonight as well. But from talking to just people who watch this team on a regular basis, I try to take the time to catch as many games as I can. Obviously, with my coverage for the Penguins, that's a little bit difficult sometimes. But just talking to some of the people that watch him on a regular basis, the process is there, guys. I mean, the production is starting to show up now, which is a good thing. It's starting to catch up. He probably needed some time to acclimate to the pro game, as most players do. And his hockey IQ is evident from all fronts. You can see his vision on the ice. And if you watch highlights and stuff, he does stuff like this on a nightly basis. If you actually get a chance to watch the games, I highly recommend it if you can catch some of those games, because you'll see a lot of the things he does that don't show up on the score sheet, that don't show up in those highlight reels, because he's a really good 200-foot player. Just like I said, the hockey IQ and the awareness is definitely there. Also, his line has been pretty good recently. He's playing on a second line with Vasily Ponomarev and Avery Hayes. And actually, Ponomarev has 5 goals and 12 points in his last 12 games. 6 goals, 15 points in 20 games on the season. So he's somebody else that's been heating up recently. Hayes is 3 goals, 7 points in the last 12. 6 goals, 10 points in 18 games on the season. They've kept that line mostly intact this season. And, the top line guys, you have, I think, Camille Bemstrom, Boris Kachuk. I want to say Tristan Brose has been playing on the top line as well for the most part. So, they have 2 solid lines down there. McGroarty's been a big part of their success recently. And actually, just interestingly enough, want to throw this little tidbit in there. So he has 20 penalty minutes on the season. 12 of those came in 1 game on December 21st. And I don't know if anybody saw any of this circulating on social media, but that was a game against Lehigh Valley, which is Philly's affiliate, which this shouldn't come as a shock. But in that game, Wilkes-Barre's head coach, Kirk McDonald, and Lehigh Valley's coach, Ian LaPierre, just were going at it on the bench. Like this game almost turned into a full-out, like, benches clearing brawl. There were over 100 penalty minutes assessed.
Amen.
It was
Penguins
great
Flyers
here.
hockey is so back.
It was. And the Wilkes-Barre Scranton Penguins beat Lehigh Valley 7-2. that night. So just, I mean, entertainment at
Good
its
stuff.
highest degree. But Rutger McGroarty, 12 penalty minutes in that game alone. So anyway, if you get the chance to catch any AHL games, highly recommend you watch. This guy's doing a lot of good things, and he's finally starting to show up on the score sheet as well. So that's a small little update on Rutger McGroarty. And
Also,
Hannah.
really quickly before we transition, people like to think that the AHL is an easy league to play in just because it's not the NHL. That's not the case. This is a grown man league. This is still, adults who are very competitive. I'm so sorry. Yes, my cat is meowing if you hear him. Anyway, we're all stuck out in the cold, buddy. Yeah, so the AHL, it's not easy to play in just because it's not the NHL.
Yeah, I agree, and it's also a completely almost like different kind of game down there too. Things are a lot more chippy.
It's not as fast. It's different. It's not always easy to transition from college to the pros.
Yeah,
Tristan Brose did it, but he's kind of a freak apparently because that's wild. Anyway.
Yeah. And we might get to more on that later. I do expect to see some of these guys at the end of the season, including Brose, including McGroarty, Ponomarev. Those three guys probably at the top of the list, if you're not counting guys like Bemstrom, because, I mean, I still think in a certain sense, he's probably going to be one of their first call-ups if injury occurs, whatever. And he's definitely earned that at the AHL level this season. So we'll see how this shakes out. But McGroarty, Brose, Pono, they're all doing great work down there in the AHL, rather. But Hannah, do you want to do trending up, trending down?
Let's. You want to start us off?
Absolutely. So once again, we don't have sound effects this week, so we will be creating our own.
Kelsey, who's your trending up player of the week?
My trending up player of the week is someone who really deserves a little love for these past 3 games, and that's Kevin Hayes.
Yay!
Yay! All right.
I will not be.
Maybe we should just keep it like
as
this.
I don't think I physically can anymore. Continue.
All right. Well, Kevin Hayes, I'll keep this short and sweet for you, Hannah. So Kevin Hayes, he hadn't played in a game since December 10th. He'd been a healthy scratch. He's played in the last 3 games, starting with Florida on Friday, Carolina on Sunday, and then most recently against Columbus. And, if you look at the Penguins' record in those games, doesn't look so great. And, their record with him out of the lineup looks whole lot better. But I can tell you right now, Kevin Hayes is not the reason they've lost these last 3 games. He scored that goal against Carolina. That is his only point. I'm sorry, in these last 4 games, I said 3 games, so he's played 4 games. So, he might not be producing much, but he is doing a lot to generate goals and chances this season. Just to read down a couple of these, and these are courtesy of Money Puck, these advanced stats. So he's 6th in expected goals on the Penguins, expected goals per 60 with 0.89. He's 7th in shot attempts per 60 at 14.25. He's 7th in on-ice shot attempt share, Corsi, at 54%. And he's behind only, guys on the first line like Sid, Rust, Raquel, Gino, Bunting, and I believe the other one's Tomasino. Erik Karlsson. Erik Karlsson's the other one. So it's not like he's behind players that are pylons and not doing anything. Like, these are the best guys on the team. And then he's also 2nd in on-ice expected goal share at 58%, which, if you think about that, I mean, we talked about Raquel's on-ice expected goal share earlier, 7.4%. I mean, his is higher than Raquel's. So, the only player higher, I believe, is Philip Tomasino. So, Kevin Hayes is doing a lot to generate offense, to create chances. And I do think, these past several games where he's been centering that third line, I have been clamoring all season for Blake Lizotte to center that third line. Based on some comments at Sully's presser on Wednesday, which was today, I don't think that's going to happen. So let's focus on Kevin Hayes at third line center for a second, because he's done a pretty good job in that role. I mean, he's a smart player. He sees the ice well. He isn't the fastest player, but Mike Sullivan has said on multiple occasions how Hayes, and this is something that a player like McGroarty does too, they are able to play a speed game through the way they think the game. And that's evident when you watch Hayes play. He's a smart playmaker. He knows where to go on the ice to create those chances, to create opportunities, to create space for his line mates. And I think that Drew O'Connor's looked a lot better in these games next to Hayes. I think that Anthony Beauvillier has looked pretty decent in these past couple games. So, or was it Beauvillier playing with him? I think it was Beauvillier. Yeah.
No, Beauvillier's been on the
second line. Who's the other one? Glass. Wait, no. I'm drawing a blank.
Puljujarvi, because
Puljujarvi.
Puljujarvi.
Yes, correct. Puljujarvi. And that line looks pretty good yesterday, I thought too. Puljujarvi was generating some chances too. So, I'm okay with them kind of rolling with that for the time being. I think Hayes has earned a spot in the lineup, for some games moving forward. That'll kind of lead into my trending Don segment, but I think he's earned some playing time here. He's played pretty well these past 3 games.
Yeah, and I mean, you can totally see it. I'm not one for advanced metrics really, but even though he's not fast, he doesn't have that foot speed, he's flying out there night in and night out because of that, that high hockey IQ that allows him to think the game fast. He looks great. He looks really great. He totally jumps out at you and stands out for all the right reasons. It's been really nice to see. Yeah, that's about it.
Yeah.
He looks good. There's not many people out there who like Blake Lizotte and his style of play more than I do. But I'm perfectly fine with Kevin Hayes staying in that third line center spot if he keeps playing the way he does or has been, because he looks great.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. That's all I have. Hannah, who's your player who's trending up?
Oh, that's going to be Mr. Erik Karlsson. Yay!
Good choice.
Can we talk about Erik Karlsson, who has apparently learned how to play defense at the ripe age of 34? Kelsey, can we talk about penalty killing specialist Erik Karlsson? Who
not something I thought I was.
Yeah, as we all predicted, Erik Karlsson was thrown onto the penalty kill, and he's been killing it, literally. But I'm sorry. He looks really good. And not even on the penalty kill, just defensively, he's doing really well at taking the body and keeping players to the outside. He's been smart with his stick. He's playing a legitimately good defensive game. He's playing smart. He's playing strong. And he's not sacrificing offense either. He's got 5 points in his last 4 games, a goal and 4 assists. He looks incredible in both ends of the ice. I'm not sure how this happened because, he's always looked great offensively, but defensively, sometimes there have been some less than ideal plays. But that has not happened for the past 6, 7, 8 games. Really, for the past 6 or 7 weeks, he's looked great. But in the past 4 games, he's looked incredible. I really do believe that he's probably been the best or the second best player on the ice most nights.
I agree.
I don't think that's too much of a stretch to say. Yeah, he looks incredible. I'm really blown away.
Yeah, I would agree with you. And Mike Sullivan said today too that these past 6 weeks of Erik Karlsson's game have been his best as a Penguin. I would have to agree.
Literally every night, I think we're texting each other, this is Erik Karlsson's best game as a Penguin, and then he follows it up the next game.
Yeah,
this is Erik Karlsson, and my God, Kelsey. He's a treat to watch. He really is. He always has been entertaining, but right now, he's on another level. He's something else.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. And
It
he
really
had
is.
that nice pass to Raquel yesterday on Raquel's
Yep.
first goal too, which kind of flew under the radar a little bit. But he has you know, what is it, 11 points in his last 10 games.
Yeah.
So I
And
mean,
he's
he's
not
putting points
sacrificing
up.
defense. Like,
Yeah.
it's, I don't
Yeah,
know how
he
he did it.
blocked 3 shots. He
Yeah.
blocked 3 shots against
He's
Columbus.
like
So
leading the team in blocked shots and penalty kill minutes and all this crap.
I was a little disappointed. I mean, he did take the first penalty against Columbus. He was not on the penalty kill on their second penalty kill. However, he wasn't deployed on the penalty kill against Columbus.
Yeah,
But
which is
before that,
probably why Columbus scored, because they weren't
yeah,
facing elite penalty killer Erik Karlsson.
exactly. And I'll tell you what, the way Marcus Pettersson's looked on the penalty kill recently, like throw Erik
Karlsson out there. I promise he will do a better job.
Absolutely. But
I
yeah,
promise you this.
he's just been incredible. And I do just want to add one thing too. There were 2 plays in the first period that really stood out to me yesterday by Karlsson. And I think we're seeing more of this from him, similar to how he undressed Martinook the other day.
He did what? No.
But there were one thing I'd like to see more of from Karlsson that we have been seeing from him in recent games is him just generating opportunities for himself in the offensive zone. Something that he's done since coming to Pittsburgh. He's kind of been deferring a lot to Crosby, to Malkin, whoever he's sharing the ice with. He tends to defer a lot. And the past couple games, that's not what I'm seeing. He's just taken over the game. Mike Sullivan said they have a lot of alpha males in the room today, and he was talking about Karlsson when he said this, but he meant this in the best way. Because he just said they have a certain way that they like to play, and they go and play it. And that's what we're seeing from him. Erik Karlsson is at his best when he's not overthinking things, when he's just going by instinct, doing what he does best. And 2 plays in the first period yesterday. One, he kind of did the same thing. He undressed the Columbus defender. He kind of came down, carried it to the net front, and then he kind of tried the stuff attempt on the post, which almost went in. I mean, he missed by a little bit, but he generated that chance all on his own. He walked around a few guys. And then later in the period, he kind of did the same thing. He dangled around somebody. He carried the puck into the slot, and then he had a nice backhand chance from the slot. And that's something I just want to see more of. Generate your own opportunities. Carry the puck into the slot and shoot from the slot, because he has a wicked shot too.
And I mean, what you were saying about not deferring to anyone, when he won his Norris in San Jose, he did that all by his lonesome. There was no one there to defer to. He needs to just keep doing this because it's working.
It is.
Yeah.
Just incredible stuff.
So
Karlsson's trending up.
On the flip side, other than my laptop percentage, which is rapidly dwindling, who is trending down for you, Kelsey?
My trending down is Matt Nieto.
Boo!
Boo! All right. So, going to keep this brief, but before we get into the talk about, the whole thing with certain people playing over Nieto, I still don't think that's true to a certain extent. However, being that Nieto's main function is, in those defensive zone starts and the penalty killing minutes, especially in the penalty killing arena, I've seen a lot from him in these last couple games that's just lacking. And there's one play in particular against Columbus that stands out to me. So on Columbus's first power play goal, the Penguins had a couple different opportunities to clear the zone before they scored. And just before they scored, Matt Nieto had a golden opportunity along the boards to clear the puck. He misses that clear. Columbus takes it right back and scores almost immediately. And, there's been a few instances of him being out of position on the penalty kill, kind of leaving his side of the ice open. A lot of the things that we were seeing him do well on the penalty kill, do well in the defensive zone, I think have been absent in his game for, this last string of games. Now, granted, I mean, these numbers, again, are coming from the perspective that he is a fourth-line player getting defensive zone starts, not deployed in offensive zone situations. So bear with me, because, I mean, they are low. They're supposed to be low, but probably not this low. So first of all, just production-wise, he only has 1 goal, 3 points in 21 games. Again, a fourth liner, not the end of the world, whatever. But he is last in Corsi at 32%, and that's by a pretty wide margin on the Penguins, that 32% in Corsi. He's also last in on-ice expected goal share at 28.5%. And 13th in expected goals against per 60 at 3.09. Mm-hmm. You know, that on-ice expected goal share of 28.5%, if you're in the 20s, you're not in good shape. It doesn't matter if you're a fourth liner. Doesn't matter if you're a third liner. Doesn't matter where you're deployed in the lineup. Noel Acciari's above 30%. You know, he's playing in the same role as Nieto is. He just needs to be playing better hockey, and especially for the kind of hockey that he's expected to play. If he's lacking in the areas like the penalty kill in defensive zone coverage, there's no reason for him to be in the lineup once this team gets healthy. And, you know, that kind of circles back to the Kevin Hayes thing. You know, Kevin Hayes has been scratched in favor of Matt Nieto until obviously Philip Tomasino got hurt. Evgeny Malkin recently got hurt. If I'm Mike Sullivan, you know, when Tomasino gets healthy, when Malkin's healthy again, you have to pull somebody from this lineup. I'm not pulling Anthony Beauvillier. No. I'm not pulling Jesse Puljujärvi. I'm pulling Matt Nieto and keeping Kevin Hayes in that lineup because, you know, we've talked about this before.
Two players. You're going to have to pull one more.
Yeah, I'm just saying like one at a time. If you're going to, obviously when they're both back, one more is going to have to go. But the first player out for me is Nieto right now.
Yeah.
Because, you know, everybody's just doing more than him right now. And I think Hayes is doing more. You know, he's in that third line center role. But once everybody's healthy, you expect him to probably bump back down in favor of Glass, I would assume. You don't know that. We'll see what happens.
I don't know anything.
But, you know, I'd rather have Glass or Nieto in that, or Glass or Hayes in that fourth line role.
I agree.
You know, more than Nieto.
I agree.
Anything you want to add?
Nope. I am too cold to process.
That's okay. We're trying to move quick here. So who's your player trending down?
So my player is more of a position, and it's kind of goaltending as a whole. So both Tristan Jarry and Alex Nedeljkovic are my trending down.
Boo.
Let's talk about it real quick. In the past 4 games, they've each played 2. Against the Detroit Red Wings, Alex Nedeljkovic allowed 3 goals on 24 shots. That's an .875 save percentage. That's not good. Then against the Florida Panthers, Tristan Jarry played. He made 31 saves on 33 shots, which is a little better. But then you get to the shootout, and it's really bad. So even when it's good, it's bad, it seems like. Then against the Carolina Hurricanes, Nedeljkovic allowed 4 goals on 31 shots. That's an .871, which is even worse than against the Red Wings. And then against the Columbus Blue Jackets last night, Tristan Jarry allowed 3 goals on 29 shots. That's an .897. And again, the shootout, bad. And those shootout goals were rough. So yeah, I mean, especially since they're arguably 2 best goaltenders in the organization aren't in the NHL, it's time to either, you know, or get off the pot at this point.
Sorry, my dog barked.
That's fine. My cat meowed, and it's 21 degrees out here. Yeah, goaltending is trending down. And so is my battery percentage. So let's do this last segment really quick.
Yeah, absolutely. So this last one, we'll keep it short for you. We know there's a lot of trade talk out there already with the Penguins, Kyle Dubas, and something interesting just happened last week. So during Dubas was taking in the World Junior Championship, as were a lot of us. Congrats to Team USA, by the way, back to back.
Bird.
What an exciting end to the game. Like,
that was great. What a pass.
And a choke by Finland. Yeah. Choke by Finland. And congrats to Emil Pieniniemi. He got the player of the game. Unfortunately, it was in a losing effort, so he didn't look very happy about it, as you wouldn't be expected to. But anyway, so Kyle Dubas actually traveled over to Montreal during the World Junior Championship to take in an AHL game between Laval and Abbotsford. And interestingly enough, Abbotsford is the Vancouver Canucks AHL affiliate. And, there's been a lot of smoke around the Penguins in Vancouver pretty much the entire season. Whether it's been, Niels Holander, whether it's been, believe it or not, Elias Pettersson, there's been a lot of talk. And, Penguins defense, the Canucks don't need a defenseman. That much is clear. The Penguins have defensemen for sale. I mean, you look at Marcus Pettersson, you look at the season Matt Grzelcyk is having, if they want to buy cheaper, buy lower, the Penguins have options there. So this is just maybe something to keep an eye on in the next couple of weeks. It does seem like Dubas is pretty heavily scouting the Canucks and the organization. Rumor has it. So, Hannah, I do want to ask you now, I'm of the opinion there's no world in which the Penguins would be able to get Elias Pettersson.
Oh, God, no. Oh, my God. He's 26 years old. He's perennially hailed as a Selke caliber player. He scored 100 points one year. Oh, my God. The Penguins don't even have a spitting chance in it.
No.
What would he cost? That's a great question.
But just hypothetically for fun, if we're, delving into the world of Twitter or Blue Sky.
Rutger McGroarty, 3 firsts, Marcus Pettersson, Ricard Raquel, and $7 million. I don't know. I really legitimately don't know. I kind of suck at player value. I'm going to be so honest. Elias Pettersson, again, 26, 100-point player, Selke caliber player. I don't know. It would probably start with Rutger McGroarty. 2 firsts, maybe. I truly don't know. That seems about right. Maybe Marcus Pettersson too. It's difficult because the Penguins don't really have anything of value, not compared to a player like Elias Pettersson.
No. I think this is a perfect situation to mention too. I mean, the Penguins are gonna. I saw some of these crazy trade proposals that suggested, things without a first and everything. Guys, Elias Pettersson is in no world is not going to net a first round pick. Guys,
I mean, unless it's a 1-for-1 trade with another, like Mitch Marner or something,
or Sidney Crosby, which isn't going to happen. So,
even then, Kelsey,
probably not a 1-for-1.
I'm going to get slandered. Even then, Elias Pettersson, 26, has more value than Sidney Crosby, 37. Yes. That's just the fact of life.
Yeah, but in terms of first round picks, this is what I'll say. Not necessarily for Elias Pettersson, but something to consider with the Penguin situation. So it has been recently reported, and it again and again, and this has been Dubas's stated direction. I think this aligns perfectly with the rebuild on the fly philosophy that he's employing. He wants young players, prospects, and draft picks in that order.
Yep.
So if you're thinking about young players, and if you're Kyle Dubas and you really want to shoot high for a young, talented player that could be a 1C or a 2C, or who can be here beyond the years of Crosby and Malkin, who can sign long-term and kind of be a cornerstone piece in Pittsburgh, you're going to have to give up a first-round pick for that kind of talent.
At least one, yes.
And, I think I see people across all corners of the internet just saying, you cannot give up this first-round pick in 2025. You cannot give up this first-round pick in 2025.
No,
but I want to, I want to offer. Yes. And I want to offer a counterpoint in the form of, look at it this way. If the Penguins were to trade Ricard Raquel, either at the deadline or this summer, with the season he's having, he's a guy with his term left and, his cap hit for the goal production that he puts out. That's a nice cap hit for, a 35 goal player. Yeah. And so, he can net you a first round pick. That might not be a 2025 first round pick. It could be a 2025 conditional first round pick. It could be a 2026 first round pick, but he can get you a first round pick. So the 2025 draft isn't deep beyond those first couple selections. The 2026 draft is very deep. So if you're faced with a situation where Dubas can trade a 2025 first round pick for a good young player, like a legitimately good young player, you do that immediately, especially if Raquel's part of that package and you're getting a first round pick in return, or you get a first round pick otherwise. You take that. The 2026 draft is deeper. The Penguins aren't going to be drafting in the bottom 5, presumably, this season. Go for it.
Stranger things have happened. I don't know.
You never know. The Rangers could. I still think they're making.
Don't say that. Anyway, continue.
That's all I had to say. Just keep an eye on Dubas, the Canucks. I think there might be something brewing there. I don't have any actual insider information on that. But just keep an eye on that because they need defensemen. The Penguins have them, and we'll see what happens there. But anything you want to add on the trade front or otherwise, Hannah? I know you're very cold, and we can end this.
Just that this whole drama with Elias Pettersson and JT Miller is fascinating to watch from a nosy neighbor perspective. I do feel very, very bad for both of them and for the rest of the team because it cannot be easy to have the media, especially the Canadian media, sticking their noses in your business. That's all I got.
Absolutely not. And, I see people saying, well, why they obviously rather get rid of Miller than Pettersson.
Well, obviously. Miller has a full no movement clause.
And he also has about 1/3 the value of Elias Pettersson at this point. So, it's not always how it works, folks.
No.
Not always how it works.
World, guys.
All right. Well, that'll do it. We're going to get Hannah out of the cold. Thanks for sticking with us on another episode of Pucks and Nat. Just a quick reminder, follow the podcast on X, Pucks_Nat_pod. Same thing on Blue Sky without the underscores. And I'm Kelsey Surmatz. You can read my content on the Hockey News Penguins website. You can find me at Kelsey_Surmatz4 on X and Threads. Same thing on Blue Sky without the underscore. Hannah, real quick.
Hannah Kirkel, The Sporting News. You can find me at on Twitter at H_Kirk6, Blue Sky at HKirk6 no underscore, and on Threads at Kirkel6. I'm really cold and I'm ready to get inside.
She is. So we're going to send you off, folks. Have a great week. Drive safe in the crazy snowy weather out there. And
21 degrees out here.
Yeah, it is cold. We're going to get Hannah out of it. So we will see you guys next Wednesday. And just stay out of trouble in that.
And stay out of the cold.